Well, today we're going to be talking about one of the most popular NES games ever made. It's usually on top of most people's Mario lists as well as their favorite NES games. It's a game about going through strange worlds, collecting strange items, and putting on suits of Japanese creatures with large testicles. I'm of course talking about Super Mario Bros. 3. Yes, folks, Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of the most respected NES games of all time. Usually it tops the list of best NES games, and for good reasons. It's a really great game. It's a real fun game. Whether or not it's the best Mario game of that era is definitely up to debate. Some people like to put World ahead of it. I'm more of a Super Mario Bros. 3 is a little bit better than World, but it's a tough choice since they're both stellar games. The story in this game revolves around the fact that the Koopalings, which are Bowser's kids, have stolen the wands from all the Mushroom Kings and have transformed them into animals. The princess, having heard of this, has sent the Mario Brothers out to retrieve the wands and return the kings to their original form. Yay! No rescue the princess storyline, none whatsoever. Hip hip hooray! Damn it! Yes, the storyline is the typical you gotta save the princess from Bowser, but that doesn't really appear until the last stage, and you only get that note ironically if you beat World 7, which is the hardest level in the game. I do have one nitpick at the ending. What the princess says to Mario when I first saw it, I wanted to know if there was a button where I could slap her. It's a little disrespectful, and it trolls the player. I wonder if this happened right after it. Hey, Bowser, looks like the princess is off her medication again. Woohoo! You want to keep her? You rescued her. You keep her. Alright, fine. We still on for go-kart? You bring the shells. You better bring the snacks. The story does not have much in exposition. However, it does do a lot of good jobs with cultural references. While I've mentioned in the past Super Mario Bros. Has had an Alice in Wonderland and Jack and the Beanstalk motif to it, Super Mario Bros. 3 puts in a few Japanese fables to the mix. None more so ever than Super Mario Bros. 3 most favorite power-up, and that is the raccoon tail and the tanuki suit. One of the most popular things about tanukis and the Japanese fables and lore is that they have the ability to transform. Does that sound familiar with Mario's tanuki suit? Unlike other forest animals that could transform in the Japanese fables, though, the tanukis didn't do it because they were evil or out to hurt humans. They did it because they thought of it as a joke. They're usually considered good-natured. There's also something else about their anatomy that's kind of unusual. Something Mario's suit doesn't have. Something that if it did have, might get an AO rating from the ESRB. What do the tanukis have? They have giant balls, bollocks, nads, man parts, spur makers, and of course, testicles. We're talking about decuff briefs here, people. The only other piece of Japanese work that has made it to America that has tanukis in it that I can think of is a Studio Ghibli film by the name of Pompoko. I can't really recommend it, though. It's basically, think about Fern Gully or some of the other forest-type environmentalist movies from the 1990s, except you had set in Japan and you have the tanukis being the main leads. Basically, the movie is about a bunch of tanukis in their forest, and when humans invade and try to cut it down, they use their transformation skills to try to warn them off, and then eventually decide to go to the war with the humans. Now, the reason why I can't recommend it isn't just the fact that you're constantly seeing raccoon testicles. I can understand that, it's a cultural thing. But when they go to war by trying to beat people over the head with gigantic transforming testicles, it's more than a little disturbing. And then we also see a whole bunch of them become roadkill, and very graphically too. So I don't know who Ghibli was deciding to aim this to. They have other forest animated films that have similar themes, like My Neighbor Totoro, which did have a cameo in Toy Story 3, show this. So I can't really recommend it. It does show off what tanukis are, but I really can't recommend that movie. Oh, and by the way, that movie was brought to America and dubbed by the Walt Disney Company. Since most of my footage is on the Super Mario All-Star 16-bit remake and not on the original, I'm going to show you a few clips from NES Remix and show you one of the big differences in the All-Star version, which I kind of liked in the original. It's not enough, like I said, for me to go spend $5 on a virtual console version, but it is there and it is kind of neat. What makes the original NES one different from the Super Nintendo is the little shadows on the background there. Super Mario Bros. 3 was originally supposed to be a stage play in its theme, hence why you can run in the backgrounds in a few parts or even run off stages when you complete them. The backgrounds in the All-Star versions, however, don't have that shadow or that flat look. Rather, we see off in the distance and we see some artwork, each fitting to the stages. Some of the stages, like the airship here, have thunderbolts in the background. It looks nice, and I actually prefer the way the Super Nintendo version looks. They didn't screw with the sprite models like they did with the original Super Mario Brothers. They recolored them, but they didn't really screw with them. Overall, it's just a better looking game. It doesn't feel any different from the original. So, like I said, I have to give my thumbs up to the Super Nintendo version, even though it doesn't have some of the nice little extras that the NES version had when it comes to stage theme. One of the things the Super Nintendo version also has that the NES one doesn't is all the King's transformations are based off Mario characters. There you saw an enemy from Mario Bros. 2. And here is one that is transformed into Yoshi, of all things. Also, Donkey Kong Jr., I think, makes an appearance as one of the kings being transformed in the All-Star version, and I like the changes. The music in the game is pretty good. We get all new music. The stage theme for the normal outside worlds are pretty good. We have some pretty creepy music for the airships, and also each world map has some interesting music to it. All in all, the sound is pretty decent. Nothing really exciting, but pretty good. There is a reason why Super Mario Bros. 3 is considered by many people to be the best Mario game, if not at least the best 2D Mario game. First off, you have the map, which plays more like a board game, especially on 2-player. I don't have any 2-player footage, but in 2 players you're able to stop each other from moving, steal items, and even steal turns through a Mario Brothers meta game. And friendships can be lost over finding special places on the map like this. So yeah, it's really fun on 2 players, but the single player is also really solid. The goal in each world is to reach the castle at the end, which leads to an airship stage. Beating the airship stage with the Koopaling inside will get you a letter from the princess with a special item before going on to the next world. In 2-player mode, it's whoever beats the Koopa Link who gets the item. Now this is kind of important because when you die in an airship, the airship will take off and move along around the map. So again, you do have a little bit of strategy in 2-player mode if you want the best items. What was new in Super Mario Bros. 3 was the ability to use items that you collected from toad houses or from mini games before you entered a stage. This kind of made the game a little bit more easier because the game is tough. And there was also some really cool rare items you could collect by being the one who beat the stage or by finding Hammer Brothers. These rare items included two unique suits, the Tanuki and the Hammer Brothers suit, which could only be found in Worlds 5, 6, and 7, which are the hardest levels of the game. There were also the rare cloud that allowed you to skip a stage. Wait a minute, didn't I go all old fart on New Super Mario Bros. U because it lets you skip stages by using a Luigi playbox? Well, let's see, there's a difference. These clouds were uber rare in Super Mario Bros. 3. While New Super Mario Bros. U, they're available in pretty much every stage. All you gotta do is die a lot to unlock them. Also, the cloud isn't perfect. You use it to bypass the stage and then die on the next stage, you go right back to the last stage you've beaten, meaning the cloud just became wasted. So again, it's a rare item and a useful one, but it's not an end-all to just skip stages you suck at. There's also a few crappy ones like the music box here, which just puts the Hammer Brothers on the map asleep so you don't have to fight them. I don't understand the point of this, since the Hammer Brothers give you rare items for fighting them. On 2 players, they do take a turn if you run into one. However, again, like I said, rare item, and some of these are worth skipping a turn to collect. So yeah, what's the point other than it's a really nice way of putting in the Super Mario Brothers theme? I don't know. There are also secrets in the map that it can appear on how you complete stages with different timers and scores. For example, you can get these card houses, or you can turn those Hammer Brothers into airships filled with coins. I guess I should talk a little bit about the stages themselves, and what can I say, most of them are pretty excellent. You do have your typical garden variety stage that is overworld and good to fly through with Mario Raccoon Test, but there's plenty of stages like this, which is a literal pipe maze where you have to find your way out. Plenty of fortresses and even regular stages that have puzzles like this, and they're kind of fun to beat. They can be frustrating, but they're fun. What can I say? The game's a great game. It was a big hit in the early 90s, and even though it's been almost 25 years since its release, it's still going strong. It's a great game. If you own a Wii or a Wii U, you should definitely have it on its virtual console. The Game Boy Advance also has it in Super Mario Advance 4, which is a slightly different take, but I do enjoy that take. It's worth checking out. When this was released, it spawned a huge line of comics, even its own cartoon show that had Willy Vanilli in an episode. Yeah, it was phony baloney. I would once again like to apologize to anyone under the age of 25 that did not get that reference. I guess you can Google Milli Vanilli if you really wanted to know the information on that early 1990s scandal. And I guess I would be negligent not to mention The Wizard, which was a movie that was made specifically to promote Super Mario Bros. 3. I have not seen this movie, but I've heard it's kind of like crappy. When you have a game that's only cons come from stuff that was used to hype it or was produced from the hype of this game, you know you've got a great game. Super Mario Bros. 3 is probably as close to perfection as you can get in a game, and it's why even some of the modern games that tried to knock it off, like New Super Mario Bros. 2, fail. You just can't top this game. It's really great. $5 on the Virtual Console is a great price for it. If you like this video, be sure to hit like. Also, please subscribe to my channel. Next week, I'm going to review a Mario game that I put on my crappy Mario list. Does it deserve to be there even though the main game is kind of fun? The answer is, when you make the one-player mode completely piss me off, yes.